Hey friends, I'm Andrea Lake, and today is September 9th of 2024. It is the 1-year anniversary of my own personal day of reckoning. On 9/9/2023, my life fell apart. I was retired, living in Sedona, super happy, sitting back on my fuck you Gen X money. I owned the sales rights on Craft. World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, The Walking Dead, all of Blizzard gaming properties for years and years and years. And it allowed me to essentially retire in 2016. And I would still spin up little projects and I kept all of my businesses running. But for the previous, basically since 2020, I was just pretty much retired, hiking in Sedona with my dog Rico, drinking marijuana tea, and just basically living my best life. I was not checking in on my businesses basically at all. And I had spent the previous 3 years writing a quantitative trading system that was mind-blowingly working, like my socks off, working really well. And I thought, okay, this is it. This is easy street. I am trading in crypto. I was trading in the New York Stock Exchange. I understood that we were at the bottom of a bear market, obviously. And I had a whole system of flip compounding returns in a way that I was going to ride the market back up. And so I wasn't really concerned that there were clearly some things awry in my companies because my plan was to shut the companies down. Like literally. My plan was, okay, well, the next time the crypto market shoots, I bought a ton of Solana for $10. And then I bought a ton more Solana for $12. And then I bought a ton more Solana for $16. A lot. Solana today is about 150. It peaked at 200, which is what my sell point was at 180 from all of that $10 Solana. And very, very unfortunately, to save my company and prevent myself from getting arrested by the IRS, I had to sell it in October of 2023. That is a true but sad story, but I am skipping ahead. So this is going to be the story, my story, of a comeback. Let's fucking hope. And the story of what I did in the last year when I found myself at 49, fast approaching 50, and very, very, very quickly running out of liquid cash. I was hemorrhaging $1,521 a day in my companies and had been for years. And for all kinds of reasons, I just simply didn't realize it. And this is the tale of that story. This is a story of the recap of 2023. That's what the first 4 episodes of this podcast are going to be. Each one is going to be a quarter of the year and how I truly just picked myself back up because what other choice did I have? And then it's going to be an ongoing story. Most of you got here through Stickergate, and so you know that things turned out okay for me. But let's see what happened in the interim. So I'm going to bring you guys back to September 9th of 2023. I was at my place in Sedona, and I was just about to dig in to why on earth and how on earth that I was so short on cash. Like, why did I have to start divesting parts of my portfolio? I had owned a company called Sticker Junkie at stickerjunkie.com for years, since 1999. I started that company when I was like 25 years old, and it had sustained me for most of my adult life. It was always just my bread and butter company. I had really steady Eddie clients. I had big contract screen printing clients, and it just tucked along. It did fine. It made anywhere between 2 to 4 million annual revenue, and then it dropped down to like between 1.5 and 2 million, and more quickly than I could have realized. It dropped below 1 million, and that was below the break-even point for that company, and it came down with a crashing halt. So right before my day of reckoning, I had set up a surprise birthday party for my mom in Sedona, Arizona for her 5th birthday. My mom is such a rock star. She's so amazing. So I said, hey, come to Sedona. We're going to hang out and have just a great time. And you and Barb can come. That's my aunt. And I'll set up like nice things for you guys to do. I don't have very much time that week because I am very busy, but I'll make sure that you guys are taken care of while you're here. That was all a ploy. So my mom gets here, and all of a sudden, my cousin is there, and my mom is like, "Whoa, I didn't expect you to drive up." And then my aunt, who had driven all the way in from Texas, pops out of one room. My brother, who flew in from California, pops out of the other room, and her grandkids, who she hadn't seen in a couple of years at that point, since before the pandemic, they come out of another room, and it's the sweetest, most magical time that you can imagine. That was in August. And then I saw video footage from that. I was shook. I was like, whoa, who is that? As I was looking at myself, I truly did not realize how much weight that I had gained during the lockdowns, during the whole time of me sitting at a computer and writing my quantitative trading system. And, younger in life, had heard commercials where people were like, oh my God. And then I saw a video and I didn't realize how much weight I gained. And I was always like, girl, please, how the fuck did you not realize that? You see yourself in the mirror every day. Like, what even are you talking about? Well, I became that woman. I stepped on the scale for the first time in a year, and I was 190 pounds. It might have been the first time in 2 years. I am 5'10", and I was like, what the actual fuck? If you would have asked me, I would have said, oh, I'm like 170 and I want to lose like maybe 15 pounds, but whatever, I look fine. It cracked open my awareness. I was like, whoa, Andrea, what are you doing? You have all these businesses, you have this trading system, you're doing all these things, but you were so fucking depressed. I was finding myself more and more like making a shandy, one of my very favorite drinks, and eating all of the grilled cheese and all of the magical everything, and laying in bed and watching Netflix, like a lot, and building Legos, like a lot, which I love to do. And my comfort show is The Walking Dead. I know that's weird because zombies, but my comfort show is The Walking Dead. And so just like watching it on loop for years while I'm building this trading system and eating all of the delicious magical foods. And I still did hike every day because I still hike every day. But Lord have mercy, I do not know how much that I was eating and how much that I was drinking ever since 2020 and the lockdowns. And I just realized that despite all of the outward trappings of like, wow, you have this life that a lot of people would want to live, I just was so unhappy. So I got up, and all of August, as soon as my family left, I started reordering Sakara and eating really well and working out a lot and going back to hot yoga and doing all of the things. And about a month later, I had lost 10 pounds. I was super psyched. And I thought, okay, you clearly were not seeing what was going on here. You clearly slowly were like a frog in a boiling pot of water that gained all of this weight. And what else are you not seeing? But literally, what else are you missing in your life? Why the fuck did you just have to sell all of your chain link, which is another cryptocurrency that I was heavily invested in? And I started digging into my books on 9/9/2023, and thank God I did. So I wake up that morning and I prepped my fridge with all of my beautiful Sakara and, of course, some Trader Joe's dark chocolate peanut butter cups because, Lord have mercy, I put those with espresso and some Nut Pods creamer in my coffee every morning, and it is chef's kiss. And I really start digging in to the metrics, and I find out that I am in debt by a lot right now. And I bust out my trusty old planners and I make myself a plan. And I pull up a spreadsheet that says, hey, look, my average shopping cart on Sticker Junkie is $242 or $248 or whatever it was at that exact moment. It changes month by month, but it's about that. If I just only do 15 sales a day, that's like $1 million. If I do 25, it's this. If I do 30, it's this. I actually think that this is off a different metric. And I started laying out all of these things around my apartment. Or my house. I start getting organized. I start going through the books and saying, what actually are my numbers? And I'll tell you what, for this company that I'd owned forever, I was having many days that were less than $1,000 a day, which is insanity. I was getting 2, 3, 5, 7, 10 orders a day on a company that I had owned for years. It was appalling. Like, it was such a small amount of orders by comparison to when I was really scaling the company back in the, early 2000s, mid 2000s, and doing like 70, 80, 100, 120 orders a day average. That still is not a lot. So I'm going to blow your mind because as I tell this story, this particular episode is about the first quarter where I found out that fucking shit hit the fan on every metric of my life. It wasn't just the weight. It wasn't just the business. It wasn't just the money. It was everything at the same time. Sort of came crashing down around me. And I had to take a good, hard, long look at where I was. And I didn't even know the numbers in my company. For those of you that are listening on YouTube instead of on Spotify or on Amazon or wherever it is that you're getting your podcast from, I just pulled up tables and metrics in Excel that I wrote that show like this is how much that 15 orders equal. And it just occurred to me as I was looking at them that those weren't the right amounts because I didn't know what my average order was. I didn't know what my average customer shopping cart was. I didn't know what my average customer lifetime value was anymore. I was so far out of paying attention in that company. And so while I tell the story of the first quarter and all of the falling down and all of the incompetence and all of the things that happened to get me there, it will be a short story because there is no one to blame for that but me. The things that I found when I walked in day one to that company, they were easy to see. I was not looking. I would have found them in a couple of days, which is how long it, in fact, did take me to find them. I promise you this, as I tell all of the stories of the unfolding of the story as it exists now, I will also be telling you the backwards story of my life and how I got here. Because I guarantee that you don't know who I am. Because I have always believed that privacy is the best thing that money can buy. So my name is Andrea Lake. I've started 14 companies since I was 18 years old, including Sticker Junkie, Yoga Junkie, Delinquent Distribution, which owned the exclusive sales rights on the merchandise for Minecraft, World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, The Walking Dead. I started the Power Chick Mafia. I also wrote a book called How to Build a T-Shirt Empire with my business partner, Dan Caldwell, the founder of Tap Out Clothing. Launched a course online called Teacher with 2 E's, super cute, really cute logo, with Daniel Damasa from Diepic, Griff from Combat Flip Flops, Dan from Tap Out, and myself between the founders of that company. Because remember, I owned the sales rights on the merchandise for Minecraft, 2 chain stores. For a long time, it was completely exclusive. Eventually, the company that owned the licensing rights, not the distribution rights, cut me out of Target and Kohl's. I cried tears that day, but it still was a good contract to sell to GameStop and to Hot Topic and to all the other stores. I don't even remember all the stores that I was selling Minecraft to, but a very, very lot of them. And we didn't just have t-shirts. We had t-shirts, patches, pins, hoodies, Steve heads, creeper heads, little, with the swords, the backpacks, the plush toys, everything that you could imagine. At first, we had basically all categories for a long, long time, as well as all of Blizzard Gaming. So it was a very small piece of a very large pie that I was getting, but that piece was more than enough for me. I was getting crack money, mailbox money in the mail every month from the early 2000s until probably about 2014, whenever Microsoft bought Mojang, or if you are American, Mojang. And then the licensing rights were ceded, was removed from that process, and I just basically started spinning up little things. And nobody really ever knew what I was up to because I didn't ever really share what I was up to, but I started spinning up little projects that would bring in money here and there. Some of them very successful, made millions and millions of dollars. Some of them did fine. I started the Winston House in Venice Beach for fun on the side. It was like a little teeny tiny conversation that I had with my friend Corey McGuire, who I had just met at a big business group called Summit Series. And I mentioned to him, like, hey, I want a co-live workspace in Venice, something similar to the factory that was in San Francisco. But I don't want to have to give up a percentage of equity to live in a house. So I just want this to be a collaborative house of a bunch of seasoned serial entrepreneurs. As a matter of fact, to tell you what I actually really want, because he goes, well, what do you really want? I said, I really want like a 7-bedroom house in Venice, like gorgeous, and I get to pick all of the entrepreneurs that live there, and I get to control every stick of furniture that exists in the common space. And that was it. That was the whole entire conversation about the Winston house that I had in a 6-hour conversation with Corey. That 30 seconds. He calls me 6 weeks later. In the interceding 6 weeks, we had not spoken. I pick up the phone and he goes, okay. And I go, okay, what? And he goes, okay, I got the space. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, I found the space for the house in Venice. It's on electric, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, huh, do I get to have the best room? He was like, yeah. And you choose all the people. And I was like, cool. On my way. That's how the Winston house started, which ended up becoming a tech hub entrepreneur house. It was the co-live workspace. And because a bunch of the guys that I started that house with, Joe Stolte and Sam Salisbury and Corey McGuire, had a music startup, they sort of had transitioned into the music space. And my friends, Judy Stolte, Travis Steffen, and Dylan Sparts all moved into the Winston house, and we had the best time. And all these very, very, very famous musicians started playing. We started having like little side shows for people in LA. And basically, people would show up, and you never knew who the musical artist was going to be. So it could either be somebody that was pretty well known or somebody that was completely unknown, but very, very talented. And it would be like 150, 200, 300 people. We would do these shows maybe once a month at first. And then Justin Bieber played at the Winston house. And then all of a sudden, the shows got out of control. We had Miley Cyrus, Ed Sheeran, Billie Eilish. She played there when she was an unknown artist. Gary Vanderchuck came and spoke. We had the Chainsmokers and Hosier and so many people. Ed Sheeran, when he played the Winston house, he played the Grammys on Saturday, the Super Bowl on Sunday, and the Winston house for like a couple hundred people who did not know he was going to show up and play on Monday. So it was a wild time. I promise you that I will always get off on stories like that sound like I am a pathological liar. It's why my book is called You're Gonna Think I'm a Pathological Liar. But I will keep the thread of the story that I am telling here. And I think the whole cadence of the podcast will be that way. There are reasons that I got this far in my life, and I just thought, oh, these companies that have sustained me forever, they're fine. I've had the same employees for decades. They're just tucking along, and I'm getting my little amount of dollars through them, and all is well here. Well, Sticker Junkie had fallen so far down in sales that I wasn't actually extracting a salary from it anymore. I just basically was letting it float along while I waited for my Solana and Chainlink and Bitcoin and all of the other cryptos that I was holding to rise with the market. And I was also flipping on a system of compounding returns because that is how I roll. 2023. So when I woke up and I was like, wow, but you're actually really unhappy. And you used to be so integrated into your life and so integrated into your businesses, and you've gained all this weight and you're just not very happy with your life, even though the trading is really, really starting to go well. And all of a sudden, you don't have quite enough cash. Because remember that birthday party for my mom that I told you about? Yeah, I had to sell stuff to fly in my family. And I'm like, where the fuck is all my money? Good question. So I buckled down on my books. And that's when I found out that I had been losing money for a long, long time. And for a whole bunch of complicated reasons, I did not realize it. But the easygoing version of the complicated reasons is I just wasn't paying attention anymore. I had a bunch of money in my personal portfolio. I was doing all kinds of stuff with that, and I was not paying attention to Sticker Junkie at all whatsoever, much to my detriment. And I very much did not want to go back into a company that I started when I was 25 years old and rerun it. And quite frankly, had I been able to hold on to the $10 Solana that I bought and sold it at 180, which was the plan, I would have been able just to shut that business down, sell the name to someone, to Vistaprint or Moo or Amazon or any of the many sticker fill in the blank next word companies that exist. There's tons of them. Someone would have wanted my customer base. Someone would have wanted my sales. Sure, it was only like just under $1 million in sales, but why not add that to their bottom line and to their customer base? Then the truth of the matter hit me. I need to go to San Diego right fucking now, which is where Sticker Junkie was based, and see why on earth I am losing all of this money, and why on earth did I get a bunch of stickers that were not properly printed. I had asked for my trading portfolio my employees to make me these little star stickers so that I could put them up on this very beautiful chart that I have on my walls that shows how far I've gotten on the goals that I have for trading. And I couldn't peel them out of the backing, like at all. So I called up the person that was managing the office and I was like, so these stickers, they just legitimately, they don't work. Like, what's going on here? And I simultaneously that same day had gotten a call from a repeat customer who had been ordering from us for years. I would shout him out here, but I don't have permission. He'd been ordering from us for years and years. And he called and said, hey, I need new stickers to be printed. These ones don't, like, the backing doesn't peel out like at all. And the person who at the time was running the company says to my customer, first of all, the person that runs the company, the manager of that office, was not supposed to be talking to people on the phone because he was not a super happy, friendly guy. And when you talk to anyone on the phone of my companies, you get a very happy customer service rep. As a matter of fact, it's a differentiator of Sticker Junkie with a lot of our competitors is that we actually do take phone calls because we have a lot of Gen X clients like me. And if they get confused about a file, they want to actually physically call and talk to a person and have somebody help them with the situation. And he says to this very long-term customer, well, how do I know you're not a scammer? Our stickers are perfect. And I was like, excuse me? The fuck? What the fuck did you just say to one of my clients? What? I kid you not. The next day I got in the car and went to San Diego. I was like, this needs to all of the be corrected. And I called this amazing woman, Courtney, who had worked for me for 14 years. And I said, hey girl, hey, I heard that there was interactions going on with the customers. You're the only person that I ever want talking to customers. And she said, no, I know that's been happening. He's been talking to customers. And I was like, what? So I get to the office at Sticker Junkie and things are worse than I could have imagined. It is disgusting. It is filthy. And you would think I would know that, but I'm literally not kidding. I went into that office once a year for like an hour and I didn't look at anything too closely. And I've owned so many companies over the years. And I have always known how to do every part of everything in all my companies except for actually screen printing t-shirts and screen printing and digitally printing stickers. I understand the process. I know how it's done. I did not personally know how to do it. And so I thought it was way harder and way more difficult than it actually is. I just didn't understand the process of it. In 2020, the building that we had been in for over 10 years sold, and we had to very quickly move during the lockdowns during 2020. And the manager in that space moved us to a different location, handled the build out of extending the office space. And I just never really spent any time there. And it seems as if all of the processes and implementations that I had put into place in the office that we'd been at for a decade just kind of fell by the wayside one by one. As a result, I lost all of my long-term clients. I came to find out the Kiss Cut stickers were not being cut properly for years. For years. If you are one of those clients who got badly cut Kiss Cut stickers, I am so sorry. And that is resolved now, obvi. And not only that, but just a bunch of things had gotten implemented. That manager decided to just completely do away with our rush order system. So he just didn't take rush orders anymore. Why should we take them? They're not paying us anything extra. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, first of all of the what the fuck. I don't even have words. And I said, okay, well, you understand that when you just don't take a rush order, what happens when that person actually needs those stickers by a certain date is that they go somewhere else. And then that new company treats them fantastic, gets them their stickers on time, and then they just don't ever come back to us. So I spent a couple of weeks just calling all of my clients and seeing what happened. And that's literally what happened. There was no big blow ups. There was no big super angry thing. It just was like, oh yeah, you consistently took too long to get us our stickers, number one. And oh yeah, the Kiss Cuts, sometimes they were great, sometimes they were fine, sometimes they didn't work. If they didn't work, you guys would reprint them for us, but you made us return the stickers to you first. And I was like, what? What is happening? How did I not know this? None of that was okay. Every single piece of every single part of that was against my policies, but who was implementing my policies? Not me. I didn't have my fingers anywhere near that company, and it almost cost me everything. So, and I think it was October. No, it was very soon after I found out. I think it was like September 3rd or something. I took a week and a half and I ran through all my metrics. I called my people, all my clients. While I still was in Sedona, I packed up my stuff. I got everything ready because I understood that I might actually have to just go in and take over at this company. And the day that I walked in the door and I saw the level of disorganization and I saw the level of inefficiency and I heard all of these stories, I still was thinking that I might be able to work with that manager in some way and go in and do proper training. The guy had been working for me for 14 years, and it was very quickly apparent that that was not going to be possible. The day after I told him I was losing $1,521 a day, he got a phone call from one of our regular customers who needed an order that happened to be $1,998. I remember it exactly. And Courtney called me in a panic. I had stepped away from the office for a little bit to go spend one day with my friends while I was there. And she told me he just declined this order, this $1,900 order. And I was like, what? No, take it. Take it right fucking now. Are you kidding me? So she took the order and I went back in, and we had had a couple of like good days. So he was afraid that we were going to get overwhelmed because we had another couple of big orders. And I was like, what are you talking about? The sales are so far down historically from where they were. Like, how, what? So we took the order, and he was insistent that we were not going to be able to get it done on time, but we did. And so he came in. I said, I ran the metrics. I did like time calculations for how long each machine takes. And also, a $1,900 order is not a big order. Like, why is this freaking you out? I literally don't understand. And then once I was in the office, there's a bunch of technical things that I did understand once I was there. Everything was being done in the slowest, worst, most incompetent way possible. And we had a laminator that you could hear the motor running on the laminator, and people were hand rolling the laminator. It was everything. And when I talked to the manager, he came in and said, hey, look, we got it done. And he was really proud. And I said, yes, that's right, we did. That means we never needed to decline that order that you already had declined. And in that moment, I knew that this was just never going to work. I never intended to tell this part of the story so fully. It doesn't have anything to do with him. I wasn't looking. I didn't see how these things were working. The way that the type of machinery that we have works is that it prints on a roll, and you print a whole roll of material and it wraps down into the roll, and then you feeder the whole roll of material into a laminator. But what was actually happening was they were printing one sheet at a time, cutting that sheet and individually fitting each sheet into the laminator. So it was very clear that they didn't even understand how to properly use the equipment. No one on my staff. Brianna, my friend, came down to help me. She fixed the laminator that had been broken for 4 years. They had apparently just been using a broken laminator. She fixed it in 20 minutes. And that's when I realized how far down the rabbit hole of dysfunction that I had allowed this company to become. Clearly, I let go of the manager. Once I looked into things, I found out that there was also a lot of embezzlement. It was everything that you would not want to find out when you walked into a company. And it was devastating. I watched this guy's kids grow up. I helped him. I hired a law firm to help him through a very dicey legal situation. It was devastating to find out that such long-term employees just had been stealing, and that I wasn't also there paying proper attention to whether or not they actually knew how to operate this company. And I didn't know how to operate the company, but I learned. So I put on my big girl pants. I don't really call women girls. I call them women because I do not have children working for me. Let's see here. And got to work. I laid out a whole plan. I got incredibly organized. I set a 16-month goal, and I reminded myself that I don't have to feel like doing anything. I just have to do it. I ordered 60,000 flyers because we've always done these huge flyer campaigns. I pulled my cards in Sedona, and I have this deck. It's like a magic 8-ball deck. I'll put a link on it so you can buy it if you like it. A friend of mine made it. And I kept pulling this one card that said, "Bad vibes, run away from this energy vampire and never look back." I pulled that card over and over again. I went to San Diego and I kept going to my dad's memorial site at Fort Rosecrans. For those of you who've seen Top Gun, my dad literally is buried where that scene from Fort Rosecrans takes place. And so it's a place of meditation. And then I started dreaming. I was like, wait a minute, what happens if I do get like 100 sales a day or 250 or 500 sales a day? Stickers are a multiple billion-dollar industry and nobody talks about that. But I was like, okay, at first I just have to get to 15 sales a day. Like that's comfortable. That's back over $1 million. I'll be good. And it just increases so quickly. And I made a lot of choices. I did tons and tons and tons of flyer campaigns. I stayed with my friends Jay and Forrest. Hope you guys are okay with me putting that in there. And cried on their couch all day long, every day, actually in their guest room that they set up for me, the little hermitage. I stuffed flyers all of the time and sent out thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of them to dispensaries and breweries all over the country. I walked in.
Oh my God, I didn't take this the other day. It was even worse. This is the
besting office. This is my office. I'm showing it on YouTube. And there were huge stains on the ceiling. The floor was disgusting. Every part of it was disgusting. I remembered that it was never too late. I kept reaching into CoStar and I started breaking the world down into quarters again and setting goals for myself. And then I called my best friend, as one does in a situation like this. My best friend is named Brianna Tesoro. She went with me to IKEA to get all of the very cute stuff that we got to go set up my office as a space that I could spend 100% of my time in because I immediately knew that I was going to have to live in the warehouse and just make this right. I did have a space. It's not fair to say that I actually lived in the warehouse because I did have a space at my friend Forrest and Jay's house in San Diego, but I never went there. I set up a little airbed and got to work. I didn't go there because they lived 25 minutes from the office and I did not have 25 minutes a day to spare. I wrote something to myself on 9/9. It was actually that same day that I learned everything because, as you will find out, as this unfolding story of my life comes out publicly for the first time on the podcast, this is the third time in my life I've gone to 0 or below 0. It is the last time that it will ever happen. I have so many safety metrics in place. One of my very good friends is my coach, Lisa Warninger, who always said to me, I would always say to her, every problem I have is a problem that money can solve. I don't have cancer. I don't have a little kid with cancer. I didn't, just lose an arm. My freedom isn't being threatened. I'm not on trial to go to prison. Like the problems that I have are problems that money can always fix. And I know how to make money. And she would say to me, money doesn't solve money problems. And I'd be like, girl, yeah, it does. Of course, money solves money problems. But money doesn't solve money problems. Changing your relationship with money, paying attention, being mindful, treating money with respect, paying attention to what's going on in your businesses and generating true wealth, being mindful about the ways that you invest, being mindful about where you put your dollars, that solves money problems. And I wasn't doing any of that. So I went to IKEA with Brianna in that very cute clip that you saw if you're watching it on YouTube, and she bought all of the furniture for my office. I borrowed the money for her because I was hemorrhaging cash so quickly at that point that just trying to stay above water was everything that I had. I sold my entire crypto portfolio. I sold my entire retirement savings. And I was very quickly running out of cash. I could see how far I had runway for, and it was until December. And that was it. And I didn't have anything extra to make the space nice. So Brianna said, you can borrow this. I have a little bit of extra. You have to pay me back. I said, thank you so much. And then she didn't just loan me the money. She came in and built out the whole damn office for me. She climbed up onto the ladders. She fixed those stained ceiling tiles herself. She painted the office walls herself. I had really, really hurt my back. And so she did almost all of the manual labor herself. And in exchange, we wrote an agreement where she would vest into 10% of Sticker Junkie. Over the course of 4 years, a very standard vesting agreement of 2.25% per year for 4 years. And she would come in and help me in my company. And I went to Fort Rosecrans almost every day and just cried. I cried and cried and cried because I couldn't believe what had become of my life. And I would go there to drop off my dog Rico at at one of my friends' houses because I couldn't have him while we were doing all of this construction. And I would stop at Fort Rosecrans on the way back, which is only 5 minutes from my friend's house. And I slowly began the grind of working all day, every single day. Brianna came up with this brilliant idea to put down stickers on the floor of my office because my office looked so disgusting, and she did that whole thing herself. And hence, Sticker Floors was born. And we got stickerfloor.com and stickerfloors.com for $8 each. They were just like regular for sale. And she began fixing up the whole office until eventually my office just looked so beautiful. And I stuffed flyers and we sent stuff out to all of the dispensaries in the country, all the breweries, all of the tattoo shops, all of the cooler counterculture businesses, which was always what I would sort of preference towards because that's a lot of who uses stickers to really, really market. The rest of the office was still completely disgusting, but we were slowly making our way through making it nice, little by little by little. And I was able to go pick up Rico and have him again. The spoiler alert part of the story is that the flyers, yeah, they were super cute and they didn't work. I have always been able to send out flyers with sticker samples to different types of businesses all over the country that give them ideas of how they can market with stickers, and I would get a humongous return on it. Well, I hadn't done that in a few years and it just simply didn't work anymore. So I had spent probably $20,000 on all of these flyers between the postage and the stickers we printed for them and the envelopes. And they didn't work. They didn't bring in hardly any revenue. They barely paid for themselves, which put me actually in a worse position than I already was. Then I tried everything. I tried talking to people. I talked to all my friends. I talked to people in my business groups. I had people saying, yes, we will for sure buy our stickers through you. And just nobody was taking action. And then after making our way through just thing after thing after thing and trying to catch our feet in those first 2 weeks that Brianna came down, I had a really long conversation with her. Now, my best friend, Brianna Tesaro, is the founder of a company called Catch Some Air. She sold that, which was a company that created t-shirts, and the money funded little kids that have cancer going to Disneyland once a year. Super cute, but she decided to roll that into a company called Stay Happy, a nonprofit, where you can send little kids that have cancer on adventures. They take kids to Disneyland every year. They take them to iFly. Her whole goal in life is to make little kids with cancer stay happy when they feel crappy. You can buy them game nights, you can take them indoor skydiving, and when kids are stuck at home that have cancer, they send them gift boxes to their house so that they're not bored when they're in quarantine, because when you're in quarantine as a cancer patient, like, you can't go anywhere. You can't get the flu if you have cancer. You can't catch a cold, let alone COVID. So this beautiful, brilliant, amazing best friend of mine, she's been my best friend for 8 years, is the nicest, purest, most honest, best person that I have met. She is the kindest, most wonderful person that I have ever met. My dad was a submarine sailor. I never stood a choice with a language, like a chance with a language. I cuss like a sailor. I love drinking wine. Brianna does not drink wine. I love smoking weed. Brianna does not smoke weed. It's wild that we are best friends, but we are best friends. We love each other. I love her like a sister. I never had a sister. She's like the sister I never had. I love her whole family. I love her whole family with my whole heart. They have taken me in as an honorary tesoro. I love her siblings. I love her siblings' kids. I love her siblings' spouses. And it's so crazy. She is now vesting into a percentage of ownership of a company that has a joint smoking monkey as their logo. She's like, Andrea, I can't even be proud to show this like to my family. We're doing so much work and we're creating this amazing, fantastical workplace environment. My parents would not approve of a lot of the stickers that we print and sell. And I have a big problem with some of the stickers that our clients print and sell. She went to Disneyland and I was out of town, and she took like 40 or 50 people to Disneyland, all parents and little kiddos with cancer and their siblings. Because the great thing about Stay Happy is that they take the whole entire family unit, because a lot of times when a little kid has cancer, like the siblings get forgotten about a little bit. And of course, because there's so much attention that's necessary towards the child that has cancer, and she makes sure that they feel remembered. She hosts game nights regularly through Stay Happy, where like the parents of other cancer kids can connect with each other and become friends. Is the best. Brianna is the best of what humanity has to offer. She has spent her whole entire life making life better for other people. And for the past year, instead of focusing on making life better for little kids that have cancer, or at least in concurrence with making life better for little kids that have cancer, she has made life better for me. She originally came down to San Diego to help me for a couple weeks. And that very quickly became a couple months. And that very quickly became, please become my business partner in this company. And if you do, we will roll out your companies too. And so we began. Now I'm going to share with you the letter that I wrote to myself, because I'm not just rolling Sticker Junkie back out. I sat down right after I found out that I was on the brink of losing everything and said, girl, what the fuck are you doing with your life? You are Andrea motherfucking Lake. Get up off this couch right now. And you are going to work your butt off for the next 27 months. You're going to work all day, every day, and you are going to rebuild your empire. You are going to take all 14 of these companies and rebuild them and sell them. This is exactly what I wrote. I actually want to reference the letter. Andrea, you have fucking got this. You actually know how to make money to inspire a team to build and scale fast. Right now, you need to pick yourself up off the floor, dive back into actually running those 14 businesses and turn them around and sell them. You're going to take 27 months and fix everything. Not only that, you're going to record this whole story. You're going to share it on YouTube, TikTok, whatever fucking platform, so that you can inspire others, especially women, to find financial success as you have done. And then you're going to show them how you went from $1.84 million in debt to $1 billion cash positive in 7 years. Then you're going to take, well, we don't have to read that part because I'm going to do something different. And then you're going to take that huge percentage of that money that you've made and put it into anti-fragile capital so that you can invest in other female-founded businesses. Oh, and also, once you've earned your first billion, you're going to start doing open trades so that everyone who wants to learn to trade can, because it's not rocket science. And even if it is, no worries. We have rockets, right? Boom, done. And then I did. I went back into Sticker Junkie. I got my shit together. I worked all day, every day for the next 3 months. of Q4 of 2023. We figured out how to use every piece of machinery properly. I figured out who the competitors in my space were. I ordered all of the sample packs so that I could see what they were doing. I looked at every single one of their websites, and I have always had a superpower where I can look into anyone's business at any time and say, if you do this, you will increase your revenue by 35%. Well, I did not need a 35% increase in revenue. I needed a 3,500% increase in revenue to get the company to where I wanted it to go. I set ambitious goals for myself to make $1 billion in 7 years. Why? Why did I do that part of it? That's a fucking ridiculous amount of money. Nobody needs $1 billion. I don't need $1 billion. Nobody needs $1 billion. However, we live in a country, in a capitalist society where we have set it up that somebody is going to have $1 billion. Why wouldn't that be me? That sounds very fun. Let's see how I would allocate $1 billion out. What would I do with that money? My plan after this 7-year experiment of rolling all of those companies back up is to retire. I intend to retire to Boulder, Colorado. We'll see where I actually retire. But a town about that size, probably Boulder. And to go in and to work with the local governments, to work with the local municipalities, and to work with the citizens of all levels of income, and to work on the things that we do agree on. Right now, we're in a very polarized country, but there's a whole lot of things that people in our very polarized country agree on, like you shouldn't go bankrupt if your kid gets cancer. There's very few people that would disagree with that. Healthcare costs are out of control. How do we solve that? If I live anywhere, but especially where I retire, I don't want anyone to be homeless where I live. If someone is struggling with addiction and they are actively in addiction, I would love for them to have programs that they can get into to get off drugs. And if they are still active in their addiction and they do not want to get off drugs, I do not want them to freeze on the streets. I want them to have someplace to go anyway. If someone's mom has cancer, I want her to be able to get cancer treatment. I am not a socialist. I am a capitalist. But I think there's a whole lot of ways that we could make sure that everybody wins in the wealthiest country in the world. So that's what I intend to do after I retire with my $1 billion. $1 billion is an obnoxiously ridiculous amount of money, and most people can't confidently say, oh, I can go make $1 billion, except for I do know how to trade. I am a quant trader, and I do know how to multiply money. My eye just wasn't on the prize. So in this Andrea Lake 101 journey, you're going to follow me on the whole way. And I'm either going to succeed or I'm going to fail, or I'm going to get to some point and say, fuck this, I'm done. But I'm pretty sure that I'm going to get to my goal. And my goal isn't only just to get to $1 million or $1 billion. My goal is to become the richest woman in the world, because I think it is crazy, insane, that every woman on the Forbes Top 100 is either there through marriage, divorce, or birth. There is nothing wrong with that. There are brilliant, fabulous, extraordinary, amazing women on that list. Amazing. I am not saying one thing against them, not one. But that is not a model that a young girl can follow. I want these young girls who are coming up and young women who are becoming entrepreneurs to say that I see me on that list. I can do that. So let's see if I get there. And the way that I decided to get there was to roll out my companies 2 at a time, not 1 at a time. So the first company that I rolled out was Sticker Junkie. It was in shambles, but I also concurrently, simultaneously launched Delinquent Distribution, which is a company that I owned for years and years. It is the company, in fact, that handled the sales distribution for Minecraft, World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, Walking Dead. And I also had a second and third part of the company. The second part of the company was slogan t-shirts. At one point, I controlled 40% of the shelf space for slogan t-shirts at Hot Topic because I was their #1 best-selling word t-shirt vendor in the early 2000s. Lovely shirts. Like, I used to have superhuman powers, but my therapists took them away. That shirt bought my house. I sold $1 million worth of that shirt to Hot Topic. when I was like 27. And delinquent distribution also always worked with artists, the best artists. And I would pay 7.5% commission to those artists, or 10% commission. I was 10% back then, to those artists when I would sell stuff to Hot Topic. So I made a lot of artists very, very, very wealthy because I was selling millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of merchandise. So I said, I'm going to go do that again. I reached out to Hot Topic. I started re-engaging with them. They were like, yes, we are absolutely going to buy from you. Coming towards the end of quarter 4 of 2023, I still hadn't gotten any orders from Hot Topic. And I knew that once I did start to get sales again through them, they wouldn't pay out for 30 or 60 or 90 days or whatever the net terms were going to be with them. So as I'm coming to the end of my rope with all of the dollars and all of the time, I came back to Sedona for Christmas in 2023. And I literally could not have been more happy and more proud with what Brianna and I had accomplished. We came up with this whole idea to do customized back pages for our clients at Sticker Junkie. We cleaned up the office space super well. We started making it just look so amazing in there. And when we came back to Sedona, I was like, okay, we are very, very quickly running out of money. But we're here and we're going to celebrate Christmas, and we're absolutely going to figure out something in January, some big sale, some big re-engagement, some big partnership, some big something with someone. And I had started to go after contract printing clients again. And on Christmas Eve, December 24th, I got a letter from the IRS. Oh, yes, I did. And it was a love letter. They were inviting me for a rendezvous at their office. They wanted to have a little sit-down meet and greet. And I knew how much money I owed the IRS. And I knew likely it was more than what I thought that it was, and that was true. And I knew that I didn't have any more runway. I didn't have anything else that I could sell quickly. And I knew that I needed to sit down and run really, really hard calculations to figure out how the fuck I was going to get from here to there. Because nothing had worked in the first 3 months. Nothing had turned the sales around. And a lot of the sales we were getting in, they were new sales, which meant that the sales that we had been losing, like the atrophy of the sales, hadn't stopped yet. People were still leaving us from having bad customer experiences, and we hadn't yet felt the ramifications of that. So we were still averaging like 1,200 sales a day, some months 1,400, some months 1,100. And it just didn't seem like anything I was doing was pushing the needle on that. And it was devastating. It was like the whole game had changed while I was gone out of it. Of course it had. So Instagram didn't exist really when I left that company. TikTok, nothing. All of that stuff was new from when I had basically been retired and out of business. So I realized I was going to have to learn a whole lot. And I realized that I needed way more runway. So I knew that I had to cobble together funding. I was like, I think $200,000 will be enough to get me through the next 6 months. And that's what I need, because I need employees. I need to find artists to get on staff. I need to redo the website so badly, like the website wasn't functioning properly. Sometimes when people would order, the city and state would drop out of their address. I wish I was kidding. I'm not. Once I started to audit my books, I realized I had to let go of my CPA firm. I realized I had to let go of everyone. It was very clear to me that every contractor, every vendor, everyone that had touched that company had cared about it exactly as much as I did, which honestly was not at all. I hadn't put any time or attention into this company. I treated it like a lost, abandoned puppy that I just left on the side of the road. I made that analogy to myself, and it made me fucking sob. As I was laying on my pull-out couch in the warehouse that I was spending 24 hours a day in, trying to keep myself from going bankrupt. At 49 years old, 1 month before my 50th birthday, I sat right here in this chair and made a video for my mom. All of that time that I had been going to Fort Rosecrans, I kept hearing in my head, talk to your mom, just talk to your mom, tell her what's going on, talk to your mom. And I kept talking to my mom. I talk to my mom every week. I talk to my mom more than that when I have time. And I love my mom. We're very close. And it just kept being clear. Every time I went to Fort Rosecrans, which was a lot. That's where my dad is buried. And I sat right here and made her this video that was like, hey, look, she had just turned 75. She's amazing and very young. And if you met her, you would think she was in her late 50s. And I said, hey, look, I'm ready for the hard part to be over. At some point in the next 15 or 20 or 30 years, because many women in my family have lived into past 100, you're going to die. And you're not going to see what I ever did with the inheritance. And I know that I have an inheritance coming to me, and I don't need it in 20 or 30 years because I am going to figure this out between here and there. But I need it right now, and I need a lot. I need $200,000. That's how much I need to get me through the next 6 months with the loss rate that I'm dealing with right now and to truly be able to turn things around. Because right now I am taking tin can and duct tape and wire. I can't hire an employee because I don't have money to hire an employee. I don't have money to buy a computer for an employee to use. I don't have money to get any of the new equipment that I need. I don't have money to do any type of advertising campaign or to hire anyone who knows how to use social media. See, I don't. Not really. And I laid out the whole thing in this very lovely video to her that just said, I need cash. And the thing about it is that's interesting is that I'm me. So I had a lot of people. I could have called my business partner, Dan Caldwell, who started Tap Out. I could call so many of my friends. Nick Pigeon, who I had met during this first quarter, was like, do you need investors? I could have, but I knew that it would be easiest just to call my mom. I knew that she would loan me the money without a crazy interest rate. And I knew that it would be fast. And that's what I needed because I was at the end of my rope by the time that I asked. And you can say whatever you want in the comments about generational wealth and privilege and, oh, she just did this because she can only be successful because her mom loaned her the money. And that's fair. I fucking understand every single comment. The level of privilege that I have to be able to call my mother and ask her for $200,000 and her to just say yes. Believe me. You can say it again louder for the people in the back that don't understand how much ridiculous amount of privilege that I know that that is. Now, I've always come up with creative financing if I've ever been in a hole before. Generally speaking, what I do is I ask for a really high interest loan because I don't want to give equity up in my companies. So I have taken on loans where I'll be like, can I borrow $200,000? I will pay you back $300,000. I will give you 50% interest. I will not pay you for the first 6 months or 1 year or whatever it is. And then I will pay you back X amount of lump sum every month for the next 2 years until it is paid back. Some sort of a creative financing like that is what I have cobbled together in the past when I needed cash. But luckily, I sent this video to my mom on December 29th of 2023. And I said, I am just going to let you sit with this. And I am going to come see you in 3 or 4 or 5 days, and you can give me your answer because I have to sit down at the IRS. And I have a feeling that that conversation is going to go one of two ways. If I can just sit down and say, I am very sorry that this all happened. Clearly, I owe you money. Here you go, and write a check. It's going to be very easygoing. And if I go in and I do not have money to write a check, a whole different scenario is going to play out. So that is where I will leave you. On December 29th of 2023, having worked my way through the first incredibly painful 3 months and now facing not only a business inquiry in the IRS, but because of the quantity of money that I owed them and the type of taxes that I was behind on, I was also facing a personal inquiry, which would inform them as to whether or not I should have criminal charges against me. That was awesome. That was super fun. And you will hear about the story of what happened at the IRS on episode 2 of Andrea Lake 101. I would at this point in time love to give a big, huge thanks to all of my friends and family who helped me through quarter four of 2023. The top of that list, but of course, is my actual family. Thank you all for being there, especially my mom. Thank you very, very much to Brianna Tesaro. I would never have been able to do it without you. And a big, huge thanks to my friends Forrest and Jay, who allowed me to stay at their house whenever I wanted, even though once I moved into the warehouse, I just pretty much did not leave there again for the next year. And I'm sure there's people I'm forgetting. Thank you, Yashi. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, everybody else. You know who you are. And I will see you again, episode 2 of Andrea Lake 101.